boy, so Party Cast. It's the Dark Knight episode of Boy Party. We are continuing Joker month to discuss Christian Bale, Heath Ledger, and Aaron Eckhart in Christopher Nolan's classic comic book movie. This is Boy Party. Hello and welcome to Boy Party. My name is Lucy and I'm joined as always by my nefarious nemesis causing chaos throughout the city. Welcome to a podcast without rules. It's Shane.
Good afternoon.
This
Good evening.
is the continuing Boy Party Joker month. There are literal fireworks going off outside our window right now.
They are unrelenting.
I think the Joker is on his way to
cause
some mischief in our studio. We're in
a new studio today.
We're in a new studio today. Upstairs bedroom in our home.
Yeah.
I am using a lamp as a makeshift mic stand. It's all very professional.
I'm using
all
a
very
shoebox.
good. Yeah, it'll be great, I'm sure. We are continuing Joker month, the lead up to the release of Joker Folie A Deux. We now have confirmation that film is apparently not very good post Venice premiere.
And also off schedule for us now, somehow.
We'll work on that. Yeah,
We'll
that episode will be probably 2 days later than an episode usually drops, but we'll work on it. But in the meantime, we have got a fantastic episode for you today on one of the most widely seen films ever. It's The Dark Knight, Christopher Nolan's most beloved and successful film by many people's metrics, I would imagine. The sequel to Batman Begins, complete step up from that film in terms of hype and success and box office and general audience interest, and personally not one of my favorite Christopher Nolan films, but an obvious achievement across the board. I think we're in a similar situation to Pulp Fiction here, where we are aware that this film has been discussed to death. So we're going to take a uniquely Boy Party approach to discussing it, and it's 3 stars. But we did rewatch it the other night. I think you said you'd only ever caught chunks of it on TV before.
I'd never deliberately sat down and watched it start to finish, I don't think. And I think maybe the one time I did, I missed the first 10 minutes or something.
That's fascinating.
Yeah.
So you'd never seen the start before?
No, I'd seen the bank scene. But
okay.
The whole sequence in the car park with the fake Batman.
Sure.
And the bit with Cillian Murphy.
Yeah.
I feel like I'd never seen that before.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah.
Then everything else I was familiar with.
Sure.
And
it's a film with an extraordinary number of scenes.
Very much so.
I feel like there's just 200 different locations.
Yeah.
And combinations of characters, because it moves and moves and moves. In every scene, there's a new set of 3 guys.
Yeah, and there's kind of 2 or 3 scenes that in a normal production would be the ending.
Yeah.
But they're just not. They just kind of keep going.
Yes. It's structured in a really interesting way, where the final stretch of action towards the end is by no means the most high-stakes, climactic chunk of the film, really. It's
intended to be.
Yeah, it is on a character level, in the sense that Harvey and Batman are at their most personally vulnerable, I suppose. But I feel like the film's most big scale, high stakes action happens an hour before the end, with the whole chase and the truck flipping and all that stuff, which is incredible and is the best part of this movie, which I feel like I didn't pay attention to the last time I watched it. And this time I was like, well, I've never seen anything like this before. This is insane. And Nolan has never really done action like this since, where you just feel like the entire city is taken over by these few characters moving through it.
Yeah.
Which is what comic book movies should feel like. You should have this sense that these characters are so big that they are just commanding space in this way. I feel like this film has such a good sense of the city, which is basically just Chicago. And it is interesting how these 3 Batman movies are all kind of shot in different places. And this is a real Chicago movie. And The Dark Knight Rises is a real New York movie. Yeah. And it doesn't even attempt to not be a New York movie. It leans into the Wall Street and the Occupy Wall Street elements and the bridges and all of this. And
where's Batman Begin?
I don't know. Batman Begins to me is a real we shot this in a studio in England movie.
It's a fictionalized city.
It's got big British studio vibes.
This film absolutely lets you know it's Chicago, and that there is an establishing
shot of Chicago in IMAX every 2.5 minutes.
Yeah, as soon as it cuts to a new scene, you see the outside of a tall building.
Yeah. The 2000s were a big time for establishing shots. If you ever put on a DVD of either Star Wars prequels or Pirates of the Caribbean trilogy, and you skip chapters, skip every chapter, every 3 or 4 minutes, let's say, starts with a really big establishing shot.
Yeah.
And maybe Lord of the Rings does this too. And they're like, here is a location. And in Star Wars, it's like all CGI locations. And in Pirates of the Caribbean, it's all, here is a cool beach we found. Here is a shipwreck. Here is a boat. And then it skips to the characters. And this movie does that relentlessly. And I feel like that's actually not a thing that Nolan is known for. And I don't think he does it in Dark Knight Rises or Interstellar or Oppenheimer as much at all, but he does it a lot here.
But again, this bounces between scenes so much, and you don't have the kind of Oppenheimer thing of like a visual difference of like one's in black and white, one's not. That like maybe they screen tested it without these shots,
and people found it hard to follow.
It was incoherent.
Yeah, very good chance.
It's a good trigger to like, okay, you're in the new place, because like they go to Hong Kong for a bit, and like if you're kind of not,
you don't notice they go to Hong Kong if you're not paying attention.
If you're not paying attention, you probably wouldn't pick up.
Because it looks like Chicago.
It looks a little bit like Chicago, and also they're just in a building.
Yeah, a lot of this movie is set in like the 30th floor of a building, in front of a window, or it's set in like a warehouse or like a weird kitchen, or like there's so much of it.
Like the scenes itself aren't that, like the film itself isn't that distinct in the location.
No,
only for the establishing shots.
Yeah.
But like it works very well to make it feel like the scene that follows the shot.
Yes, is epic and has scope,
like the shot,
even if it's actually
very
intimate.
Is successful in what it's trying to achieve, which is make you feel like you're in the big city.
Yeah, and I think the music does that a lot.
It from being TV.
Yes, for sure. Because you could argue it's a bit TV otherwise. The way that the character stuff is happening indoors, the music is incredibly important, and it's like not as great. It's not a score I listen to often or anything, but it's a great like use of music where the music never stops, and it's just like violins and drums just constantly in every scene, like just moving, keeping it moving. I think he does that incredibly well in Inception, where the music just absolutely just powers through the film. I think
that kind of is his nearly trademark.
That's kind of his thing. Yeah,
as a
Oppenheimer is so dominated by how the score never stops that I think now it's become his thing, and now that he's moved on to working with Ludwig Göransson on Tenet and Oppenheimer, he's doing it better arguably than Zimmer was doing it, and it's so interesting. But anyway, The Dark Knight, is a successful film, and it works, and I think it's very good, and I have no objections to it whatsoever. I'm a weirdo. I think that The Dark Knight Rises is the best of the 3 Batman films. I think it has so many ideas and such a big, messy philosophy that this film is it makes this film look simplistic to me.
I think this film doesn't have any scenes of scale where you have hundreds of extras running around.
Yeah, not really.
It does operate on kind of a small scale.
Yeah, it does that very well.
Oh,
and like
the
scenes of the Joker standing in the middle of the road at night as Batman is speeding towards him are incredible. And they feel so epic, even though it's 2 guys interacting.
Yeah.
But in The Dark Knight Rises, there's just so much money thrown at the screen, and you have all these
the jailbreaks,
you have the jailbreaks and the football stadium, and there's just like these big epic scenes. And like, I did not like The Dark Knight Rises when I saw it on opening day. I thought it was disappointing. I thought it was messy and long, and they were too loud. And over the years, it has become like a film that I rewatch like twice a year, and I have an insane relationship with it now, where I just go absolutely crazy for it, defending it. And a lot of that is down to the Tom Hardy and the Anne Hathaway elements, because I think they're both just like incredibly watchable in it. And are doing such crazy stuff with those roles. And you got people in it like Ben Mendelsohn and Bern Gorman, and the kinds of character actors that are in the third one are way more appealing to me than the kinds of guys who were in this one. Like this one, you've got your Eric Roberts and such, and Aaron Eckhart. The third one, you got Joseph Gordon-Levitt, and you've got Matthew Modine, and I'm like, all right, this is now we're talking.
Like it's significantly more commercial, and
it's a stupider movie. Like, but it suits my taste, and I think the New Yorkiness of it is brilliant. I think it's the only film Nolan has ever made in New York, and he's a great eye for shooting New York, and I hope he makes another big epic movie in New York someday.
Inception not based out of New York?
Inception. No, not really. Inception's relationship with cities is kind of weird.
Like there's bits in
the posters
France
would just make you think it's set in New York, but it's more so like Paris, and then
the folding city scene is Paris.
That's Paris.
Yeah.
The train running through the streets, I think, is Chicago.
Okay.
You think I'd know this? I've seen it.
It opens in the Middle East somewhere.
It opens in the Middle East somewhere. There's some stuff in Asia.
Yeah.
It doesn't really spend time in, and then there's just the kind of the made up city where
sure.
they've built. So I don't really think they spend time in New York, and it maybe briefly, but I don't know. The Dark Knight is 2008, 7 years after 9/11. It's an interesting war on terror commentary, I guess, where you're like, this is a terrorist who is a ball of charisma. I mean, he's very different to the Jack Nicholson Joker, who's a very like mobster Joker. This is very much a terrorist Joker who exists in like the post Al-Qaeda, sending in grainy videos to the news kind of war on terror shit that people were familiar with.
Yeah, execution videos and all
that.
Sort
like this is a Joker who exists in response to that. I'm not entirely sure off the cuff what the Jared Leto Joker is a response to, other than like
TikTok,
scumbag rapper culture, I guess. Like he's sort of Lil Wayne meets Adam Levine Joker.
Yeah,
I don't know. We'll talk about that next week. But this Joker, anyway,
God, I can't believe we have to watch that.
I know.
Yeah, okay.
This Joker is like a terrorist Joker. He's a scary guy. He's likes weapons and knives and
is completely unpredictable and has no real motive other than to just like disrupt things.
Yeah. So he's and the poster has this great shot of the building with the bat burned into it, and the slogan is "Welcome to a World Without Rules." And I remember in 2008, I wasn't watching this film. I was scared of it, honestly. I thought that poster was super striking. I was like, whoa.
Well, it resembles a plane that crashed into a building.
It's got big 9/11 vibes. And I was like, oh, interesting. I wasn't making a 9/11 connection.
I've only copped that. But.
Yeah, certainly this film and the marketing around it was tying into my anxieties as a child around terrorism and scary guys who blow things up. And I think it tapped into something there where people were like, whoa, this character is really striking. And of course, now Heath Ledger's Joker has become the stuff of legend. Every fucking t-shirt and bedroom wall poster of every 12-year-old boy to 35-year-old man in the world has at some point featured this character. I myself have owned a t-shirt with this character on it.
Really?
I don't know where it's gone, but I do feel like it's in the Scarface tier. Like Pulp Fiction doesn't even compete with this. Like I think Heath Ledger's Joker is up there with The Simpsons and Scarface and maybe Star Wars on a level of iconography of like young people have this on their merch.
Yeah.
And it is like a rock band level of success. And does the performance actually live up to the hysteria around it? I don't know. It's a good performance.
I think so.
I don't think it's my favorite Joker. I think that he is really good. I think that the fact that Heath Ledger died plays into it a lot. Something I heard somebody say on another podcast the other day is that Heath Ledger dying took away the opportunity for there to be context for this performance, because he never did any interviews where he talked about it when the movie came out. He didn't go on talk shows years after saying, oh, here's another funny story about when I played the Joker.
This has been inspired
he
by
left
it.
He left it to stand on its own completely. And the film came out, the performance speaks for itself. He wasn't around to talk about what he was doing.
Yeah.
And as a result, what he was doing,
it becomes more mystical.
Because the person doing it is dead. So it's almost like finding an ancient manuscript or something. Yeah. Because you're like, we don't know what this guy was doing here. He never spoke about it. Obviously, he was knocking about for a few months after they shot this movie, talking about it a little bit. But like, it's very much a weird thing that exists in a vacuum. He'll never do another performance of any kind again, so there'll never be anything to compare it to in the rest of his career, and it's just completely singular, and that is interesting, and it's completely different to every other Joker. And even the ones that are a little bit like it, like I would say the Joaquin Phoenix is a little bit like it, because he's kind of a similar actor. And the Jared Leto is unfortunately ripping this off completely, because Jared Leto is a terrible actor.
Do you not think he's ripping off Jack Nicholson a little bit more?
I think
he's kind of a mobster type.
He's Leto, sure, of course. I mean, they're all basing it off the comics. They're basing it off the Cesar Romero character from the '60s TV show. But I don't know. Anyway, it is a good performance, and he wins Best Supporting Actor that year after he's died, and Christopher Nolan and his family accepted the Oscar. Would he have won that Oscar if he was not dead? No, I don't think so. But then another actor won an Oscar for playing the Joker 11 years later. So you never know. I would guess that he would have been nominated and would have lost. The question is, who was his competition that year?
I think Joaquin Phoenix would not have won if Heath Ledger was still alive.
If Heath Ledger was still alive. Interesting. Are you factoring in there the fact that Heath Ledger would have probably reprised the role in either The Dark Knight Rises or a fucking legacy sequel HBO series in 2016? Like,
had he more sense than that?
I don't know. I think that Nolan intended to bring him back.
Put him in the third one.
I think the third. Yeah. It's interesting that The Dark Knight Rises as a film only exists in the context of Heath Ledger's death. That film would be completely different if he was still alive. Oh, yeah. I think because he'd be in it, and it would be another Joker movie.
And like it sounds like it was going to be a direct sequel, just given that the name is the same thing with an extra word.
Yeah, I mean the name came after Heath Ledger's death, but I do think that this film ends on a note where the Joker is still around, and I think that Nolan has more to say when do with that character.
Like, even if he showed up in a capacity like Cillian Murphy shows up in this one.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. I mean, you'd probably want him in it more just because he's got so much fucking heat off of this movie. But he was competing that year at the Oscars with Josh Brolin in Milk, Philip Seymour Hoffman in Doubt, Michael Shannon in Revolutionary Road, and Robert Downey Jr. in Tropic Thunder. That is a great supporting actor category. Okay. Philip Seymour Hoffman had won his Oscar. Robert Downey Jr. in Tropic Thunder is probably his main competition there.
You think he had a chance of that?
Yes.
Were people taking that seriously?
I would guess that he came second in that vote.
Okay.
Because those other performances are just not particular. Like Michael Shannon and Josh Brolin are not massively memorable in those films. I actually really like that Josh Brolin performance in Milk. It's probably the best work he's ever done. But I think that Heath Ledger may have won regardless, Yeah. But there was this whole thing where this movie was snubbed for Best Picture. Mm-hmm. This was the last time they ever did 5 Best Picture nominations. They changed the rules because of The Dark Knight. Yeah. They were like, sorry guys, we fucked up.
What else got in instead?
So this was the year where the Best Picture nominees were Slumdog Millionaire, Milk, Curious Case of Benjamin Button, The Reader, and Frost Nixon. Right. Like, there was absolutely room for The Dark Knight, and there was room for Wall-E in that list. Yeah. So the next year, they change the rules. They make it 10. Then you get stuff like A Serious Man and Precious getting nominated for Best Picture the following year. Mm-hmm. And then by the time you get to 2010, Inception gets nominated. Yeah. And another Nolan film gets nominated with Dunkirk, and then another ends up winning this year with Oppenheimer, and everything works out in Christopher Nolan's favor. Mm-hmm. Would all of those things have happened in that order if The Dark Knight hadn't been snubbed and if people hadn't got mad? It's hard to know. This film just impacted so much. I mean, Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince gets pushed back to 2009 because Warner Brothers made too much money from The Dark Knight, and they needed to keep their taxes under a certain roof, so they push Harry Potter into the following year. Like, this literally caused such an insane ripple effect in how successful it was. Yeah. So this film has a large ensemble cast. The billing of the actors goes Christian Bale, Michael Caine, Heath Ledger, Gary Oldman, Aaron Eckhart, Maggie Gyllenhaal, and Morgan Freeman. For the purposes of this podcast, we are treating the 3 stars of the movie as being Bale, Ledger, and Aaron Eckhart. I think easily they have the most screen time. I heard somebody arguing that Gary Oldman maybe has like an equal screen time to those 3. I don't think that's true.
I was going to raise this point that I was surprised at how much he was actually in it, more than I remembered.
Well, we're going to look up now what the numbers are.
Yes. So, our favorite numbers.
Let's have a look. So Christian Bale, Bruce Wayne, in this film has got 35 minutes and 30 seconds of screen time in a 2.5-hour film.
35, yeah.
The Joker has 25.
Okay.
Harvey Dent has 22.
Really?
And Jim Gordon has 19 minutes. And then Maggie Gyllenhaal has 13 minutes. So that's actually pretty close. Right?
What fills the rest of the film? Just
they're not all in the same scenes though.
Yeah, that's it.
20. That's 35 plus 25 plus plus 25
like 38 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, look, I guess this person's probably done it in the sense where every time the Joker and Batman are having a conversation and it cuts back to the Joker, the stopwatch is paused on Christian Bale, right?
You think so? Yeah,
this must be seconds that their face is on screen. It certainly feels like Harvey Dent is in this movie for more than 22 minutes.
Absolutely.
Although he does have 2 faces on screen. Anyway,
I might cut that out.
I've made this argument for years, and many people do,
that he's
the lead of the movie. I think if you're doing a standard screenplay analysis on this and you're like, first year film student, who is the protagonist? I think he's the protagonist in the sense that it is his journey that the film moves through, his arc.
Mm-hmm.
He starts off as this optimistic politician. He wants to make Gotham safe and he wants to make crime illegal. What a great guy. And by the end of the movie, he's all twisted and fucked up and he's Two-Face. And he
like the Joker doesn't change as a character throughout.
No.
And Batman kind of had his arc in the first film.
Yeah,
so
Batman
he's just kind
is
of
established now and
Yeah.
we know what his deal is and he's just inserting himself into situations to do the right thing. The Joker, meanwhile, is basically just a firecracker thrown into scenes and thrown into the story to blow things up, metaphorically and literally. So it is Eckhart who is left with the dramatic, how's
he going to handle
bulk
all
of the
this?
film.
Yeah,
and Aaron Eckhart is not quite up to the challenge, I would argue. He is fine in this. He gets away with it. The fact that this movie is as successful as it is when Aaron Eckhart is its protagonist is extraordinary and is a testament to what Nolan is doing and what the other actors are doing, because he is at best an okay actor.
There's like a kind of a silliness and not a lack of quality, but there's a lack of subtlety or something maybe to the performance that he gets away with because this is a superhero movie and it is inherently silly because it's men running around in makeup and costumes.
Yeah.
And he kind of gets away with his kind of cartoonish bravado or whatever.
Yeah. I don't know. I think he's like the most like one-dimensional cartoon version of like handsome idealistic politician.
That's what I'm trying to say, but I think that passes better in something like this where it's got crazy superhero stuff.
Sure. It's like someone doing a drawing of Robert Redford and being like, is that
Robert Redford from memory?
Yeah, and being like, is that good enough? Like,
yeah, it's a bit like J.K. Simmons and Spider-Man, like as a journalist or whatever. Like, it's that kind of equivalent. But,
like it's the absolute like just box ticking. We got the guy that'll be shorthand for this type of thing.
Yeah,
I feel like they could have gotten so much more out of a slightly more exciting actor in the role. We've got here two people who we love, who we've talked about on the podcast. Mark Ruffalo and Matt Damon would have both brought so much to this. I think the version of this movie with Mark Ruffalo is like incredible. I mean, Mark Ruffalo, even in something like fucking Zodiac, he is just improving the quality of every scene with his kind of 70s vibe and his presence, and we've talked about him. And then if you do Matt Damon, he's maybe not doing that much different to Eckhart, but he's got a kind of a local city guy element to his
him.
Authenticity would be so much more. And I think but he's also good at playing assholes and creeps, and I think him transforming into this psychopath and having his face burnt off would be super compelling. Like,
he does, of course, play the governor in Driveway Dolls.
He plays the governor of Driveway Dolls, and of course, in the Adjustment Bureau, he plays Senator David Norris.
Oh, yes.
He's a senator in Driveway Dolls as well, I think.
Is he senator?
Has he played politicians in anything else?
Has he ever played a president?
I don't think he's ever played a president. No. No. Maybe in The Great Wall. I don't know. Actors considered to play the Joker: Paul Bettany. I guess that's a Da Vinci Code response.
Yeah.
I don't think that's interesting. I don't think Paul Bettany is a very interesting actor. We've got it says Willem Dafoe. I don't believe that. That's not true. Adrian Brody, definitely.
You're not thinking about Willem Dafoe for this.
No.
Because everyone...
He's the wrong age anyway.
He's the wrong age,
Willem
but
Dafoe
also the association with Willem Dafoe and this character probably stems from this film. Being made.
But Willem Dafoe is the Green Goblin. He's done this performance.
He's done it. Yeah, exactly.
Adrian Brody is a great suggestion. Would have been great.
Sure.
I think he would have done a great job. I think it would have been way more obvious than Heath Ledger. Like you could see the Adrian Brody Joker in your imagination so easily. The Heath Ledger one requires so many layers of, like, we talked about him on our Brokeback Mountain episode, and he's so subdued in that film, and he's just kind of this quiet, handsome Australian guy, kind of mumbling.
And in other films, he's doing just like charming rom-com.
Yeah, like this is a huge leap for him. It's a brilliant transformation. Adrian Brody, the transformation's not that big. And then apparently Sam Rockwell, that doesn't work at all.
No.
And then, other Harvey Dent choices: Ryan Philippe and Liev Schreiber. Liev Schreiber would be fine. Sure. But I don't feel very differently to him than I do to Aaron Eckhart.
No, similar types.
Aaron Eckhart, I want to talk about first because I have so little to say about him. He is not an actor I care for very much, and earliest thing I've seen him in, I feel like, is Erin Brockovich, where he plays the like biker boyfriend, and he's like, that is a boring movie, and he's boring in it. That's almost 10 years before this, so he wasn't in a whole lot between that and this, but he obviously had a couple of moderate successes in the mid 2000s. First thing just before this that I would have seen him in was he's in this shitty restaurant rom-com called No Reservations with Catherine Zeta-Jones a year before this.
Oh god.
He was in Thank You for Smoking, the Jason Reitman movie.
He was doing Ashton Kutcher shit, like.
Yeah, exactly. Just like very boring handsome man.
Yeah.
He was then cast in this, and then off of this kind of gets a brief run as like stupid teenage boy movie star, where he stars in the movie Battle Los Angeles and in I, Frankenstein. Yeah. Now, I have been known to include I, Frankenstein on a list of the best movie titles ever. I do think that I, Frankenstein is a phenomenal title, and I will say it until the end of my life. But
what about Battle Los Angeles?
Battle Los Angeles is an appalling title and an appalling film.
Yeah.
And Aaron Eckhart is not a good lead. He's in the Olympus Has Fallen trilogy as the president. In every one of those movies, he gets sidelined, he gets knocked out of action, and Morgan Freeman takes over as the president. I'm pretty sure like every single one that happens, he's just constantly being basically politically cucked by Morgan Freeman. He's in The Core, he's in The Black Dahlia, he's in a rom-com called Love Happens with Jennifer Aniston, and then
I just can't see this man like stacking up beside these glamorous leading ladies. No. Like,
and then in 2016, the last thing I've probably ever seen him in, he plays the co-pilot in Sully opposite Tom Hanks.
He does.
He has a big mustache.
Of course,
he is fine in that film.
That's what he's made for.
That's what he's made for. He should perpetually play co-pilots and things.
Yeah, he's a co-pilot.
He has a total box office gross of $2.9 billion. And 1.07 of that comes from The Dark Knight, and then the rest comes from Erin Brockovich, Sully, in the Olympus Has Fallen movies.
Like, it kind of tells you a lot that he didn't build an entire career off this performance.
It's insane to be this big a role in one of the most beloved films ever and to barely have a career. Yeah. Like, it says a lot. It's a testament to how incredibly lacking in Riz he is, that he can't maintain any level of stardom despite the deep, beloved relationship that people have with his performance.
Like, and he doesn't have anything when he goes into Two-Face either.
No, he doesn't. It doesn't get any more interesting when he goes into Two-Face. No, it's really weird.
He's just very flat.
Yeah.
Unfortunate, but
it's unfortunate. Meanwhile, Christian Bale, an actor I like a lot.
I feel like you were down on him for a while.
I was. I think I'm actually kind of down on him like right now at this moment in time, because I just feel like he hasn't made a good movie in a couple of years. He's fallen into this problem now where he's kind of just like addicted to Oscar nominations, and the only way to get those is to work with Adam McKay and other goons like that.
Yeah,
he'll just put a bunch of makeup on. David O. Russell, his worst instinct. Stop. He constantly works with David O. Russell, and he's in fucking Amsterdam. Like, absolute rubbish that this guy ends up in because of his allegiance to these directors.
He loves being in like the 9th selection for Best Picture. Like.
Yeah, exactly, and like that is not a good use of his considerable talents. Because when he works with people like Terrence Malick, even if the movie's not good, you're like, oh, you're getting a lot out of this guy. Like he should be in roles that Michael Shannon is playing, or like there's cool character actor lead parts that this guy could be doing if he liked money a little bit less and was willing to not get Oscar nominated. He comes.
I guess he has his Oscar.
He has his Oscar, but he has a supporting actor Oscar.
Is that it? Yeah.
I'd say he wants 3.
Yeah.
You know, he's on 1 and he's 50. Like, you got to get 2 more. Yeah. He was, strung to everyone's attention. Patrick Batman in American Psycho.
Yeah.
Feels obvious to say it. A phenomenal performance. He's so good in that movie. Good. It's incredible. It's like really good. And it's like, I kind of wish that movie was like underrated, so I could be like, what's a great performance?
Yeah.
Is Christian Bale in American Psycho, because I feel like an asshole agreeing with the normies, but it's so good. And it's like, DiCaprio's never done a performance that good. Like,
No.
That's the thing. He competes with DiCaprio for every role. Like, they're the first two choices
But he kind
for
of
all
loses.
those parts. Well, he loses.
He's second choice.
DiCaprio is a much bigger box office draw, and I think Christian Bale is a far better actor. And I think that is like the cool person's opinion at this point, that Christian Bale is like a much better actor than DiCaprio. That like all the
he's got other characters other than doing himself.
Yeah,
and I don't even know what Christian Bale's base character is.
The closest he's ever played to himself, I feel, is in Ford v Ferrari, where he's this like confident, cocky English guy who's like a real professional, but like takes these risks.
Is he even English in Ford versus Ferrari?
Yeah, he is. Yeah. I think that's like the closest to his real persona I've ever seen him play.
Yeah, because he plays American a lot more than he plays
he's got
English.
this English accent in Ford v Ferrari, and he's like, oh yeah, a great boy party movie with almost Harvey Dent, Matt Damon. Yeah. And he's like, oh yeah, I'm an English guy with the cars. And he's like a great professional. Yeah. Everyone trusts him, but he's taking these risks. That's what Christian Bale is like as an actor. Yeah. And I'm like, I loved him in Ford v Ferrari. I thought it was great. And I think the most moving part of that film was when his character, spoiler, gets killed. I was like, whoa, Christian Bale, you were so important to my investment here. Yeah. So I think he's actually got a lot of potential with his movie star. Like, he should play English geezers like that more often, because that's kind of fun and he's good at it. But before he was in Psycho, he played the Timothée Chalamet part in the Winona Ryder version of Little Women, which is really fun.
I didn't know that.
Interesting that's a lineage that Chalamet exists in, right? As like young Christian Bale, because people compare Chalamet a lot to DiCaprio and Johnny Depp. Yeah, but maybe there's a Christian Bale career in his future.
Maybe.
Christian Bale, also a child actor in Spielberg's Empire of the Sun, his second film, which he is the lead of, and he is very young in that. So like, he's working with Spielberg as a teenager. So he starts off great. I mean, he looked a bit like Jamie Bell and Tom Holland when he was a teenager. Like, he's that kind of English actor. Yeah. But anyway, post American Psycho, he's in these dramas like The Machinist, where he just basically plays like a fucking skinny guy. And then he's in Batman Begins. Then he starts working with Terrence Malick. He's in The New World. Now, that's a Colin Farrell vehicle, but he's very good in that. Then he's in The Prestige. So Nolan is trying to get more out of him. Prestige, he's definitely the more interesting of the two leads in that. Like, I mean, Hugh Jackman can't compete with Christian Bale. And then he plays Bob Dylan in I'm Not There, along with Heath Ledger.
Again, so another Chalamet.
Yeah, another Chalamet, exactly. Yeah. And that's a year before this. So him and Heath Ledger actually play the same character in that movie. Yeah. But obviously, they're not in any scenes together. That film, if you don't know, has this format where it basically cuts between a bunch of different actors as different iterations of a fictional version of Bob Dylan. You got Cate Blanchett plays one era, a small black boy plays him in another era, Richard Gere, Ben Whishaw, Ledger, Bale. Then The Dark Knight comes out, and then a year after this, the slop era begins. We got Terminator Salvation, on which he famously verbally abuses a crew member, screaming and shouting at the cinematographer or whatever.
I'm shooting a scene here.
Yeah, and
get out of here, you knob.
I think everyone in that moment is like, right, okay, maybe this guy kind of sucks.
Yeah,
and maybe he does, but he did apologize, and I think people forgave him. Then he's in Public Enemies, where it's weird. Like, he's been the star of The Dark Knight, but he's still bringing out a movie a year later where he is the second lead to Johnny Depp, and he's not on the poster. It's weird. Yeah. But it's like Johnny Depp is so big at that point that Christian Bale. It's the way that like you throw Colin Farrell into Roman J. Israel or whatever, and
he's just not
the lead. Yeah. It's like some stars are just too big. He's in The Fighter then 2010, which he wins his Oscar for, opposite Wahlberg. I've never seen that. I must watch it.
I've seen it in passing.
Yeah, that's a TV Orgy 2 classic, I'm sure.
Absolutely.
I have no interest in it really. David O. Russell's stuff.
He's playing another skinny guy, like.
Yeah.
David O. Russell did The Fighter.
Yeah, he did.
Oh, that makes a lot of sense.
2013, he did American Hustle, which I have very little recollection of. I remember liking it at the time. I feel like he's not remembered well in that, because Jennifer Lawrence and Jeremy Renner and Bradley Cooper are kind of taking all the oxygen in that film.
Yeah,
I don't think he is the lead, but I don't think that he has the most. He's the front of the poster.
It's one of these films where it's like the cast is so big.
Yeah,
it's kind of a recognizable thing, but the fact that no one talks about it means it just can't be that good.
I don't think so. Jennifer Lawrence, I can never remember. Did she win her Oscar for that or for Silver Linings Playbook? I genuinely can never remember.
Oh, Silver Linings Playbook.
I think she wins for Silver Linings Playbook. Yeah. 2014, he's the star of Ridley Scott's Exit as Gods and Kings, which I really like, but it's not a very good use of him. That movie is just big sets, big action, horses.
That's what Aaron Eckhart.
That's what Aaron Eckhart's for. Like anyone could be in that. Like Christian Bale does not need to be playing Moses in that. Like, that's kind of a role that like Ridley Scott probably wanted Russell Crowe to play 10 years earlier.
Yep.
And by the time it got made, they needed like a skinny guy in his 40s, and they're like, all right, it's gonna be you, Christian Bale. The real star of that movie is John Turturro as a homophobic pharaoh. A great performance.
Such a pharaoh.
Then. He does another Malick, Knight of Cups. He does The Big Short, which is he memorable in that? Like I again do not. I remember he has a glass eye.
Does he?
Yeah, he does. There's a whole backstory where his eye gets
I think he's
knocked
like
out.
Blind in one
Does
eye.
he? Is he English in that?
No, he's American.
He's not. So he's doing his Jordan Belfort in that.
Complete opposite.
Complete opposite. Okay.
It's like he is like a. I guess he's autistic. This is kind of the whole thing. He's antisocial. Right. He's just like a numbers guy who sits in his office there listening to metal music blaring full blast.
Yes, the metal music thing. He
kind of talks a bit like this.
Okay, interesting.
He says in the film he doesn't understand sarcasm.
All right.
That's kind of his whole shtick.
Okay. I need to watch that again.
Like, I adore it.
Yeah.
It's like...
I wonder how Ben Affleck would do in that role. An autistic numbers guy. Interesting.
We'll never see that.
I do need to watch Big Short again because I know I was unfairly dismissing it at the time.
Yeah, and it's got a lot of good, like...
Oh, loads of people I like.
Jeremy Strong.
Of course, yeah.
Hamish Linklater.
All sorts of people. Hamish Linklater, yeah, definitely. And then Christian Bale then starts to make like shit that no one sees. Like Hostiles, Mowgli, Legend of the Jungle, The Pale Blue Eye. But he is in Vice, and he gets Oscar nominated for that terrible performance in that absolutely terrible film. I don't blame him for that. That is him being led astray by Adam McKay, but it is terrible.
That had potential.
Yeah, it's so frustrating how bad that performance is. And then, of course, Amsterdam. Then he's the villain in Thor: Love and Thunder, which is not a good performance. No. He's got like a shaved head, and he's wearing white makeup, and he's like... It's like a role that like Tilda Swinton should be playing. I don't know. He's like not very good in it.
Yeah, it's like he finally resigned to doing Marvel stuff, and he's not even getting like a lead role.
I know. It's so frustrating that he gave it into Marvel stuff. Yeah. I'll say this about him: never does TV. No interest. He's only doing movies.
Yeah, he's not going to pop up in True Detective at some stage.
Nah, I don't think so. And then he's got one project in production right now.
Okay.
Directed by Dark Knight star Maggie Gyllenhaal.
Okay.
It's called The Bride!
Oh.
Starring Jessie Buckley as Frankenstein's bride, Christian Bale as Frankenstein's monster. Also starring Jake Gyllenhaal, Penelope Cruz, Peter Sarsgaard, Annette Bening, John Magaro from Past Lives, and Jeannie Berlin. Sounds pretty good. Yeah. I think Maggie Gyllenhaal, good director from what I've seen. The Lost Daughter was quite good. I'm not a Jessie Buckley fan, but I am very open to the idea of Christian Bale doing some Frankenstein stuff down in the dungeons with Jessie Buckley. It's coming out in September next year from Warner Brothers. It's a big production I'm excited for that.
He's got another few alright films. Was it like 3:10 to Yuma?
Yeah, there's like the westerns and stuff. He's a guy you're kind of like, it's weird you're not Australian. You kind of act like an Australian. He does a lot of Australian stuff. Like,
you should be more interesting given that you're English or
Yeah,
Welsh.
Exactly. The Englishness should like create a bigger gap between you and your Australian counterparts, the Russell Crowes and the Hugh Jackmans.
The problem with Christian Bale is like, I'm constantly in a state of like, oh, you should be doing something a little bit better.
Yeah. The problem is that he's in like 3 of the top 5 normie favorites.
Yeah.
American Psycho, Dark Knight, Big Short, and then DiCaprio's kind of in the other 2. Maybe Johnny Depp is in a few as well, but like those 3 guys.
I don't think he's held in that regard as same as the other guys.
He's not. But like, let's say Steve Jobs bounced from DiCaprio to Bale to Fassbender.
Yeah.
It was going to be Bale and Fincher for a while, I think. Has
he ever worked with Fincher otherwise?
No, I don't think so. I'm delighted, unless I'm forgetting something. I'm delighted that ended up with Fassbender.
Yeah.
But like, it's funny that that's where the roles are going. They're going from one to the next, you know.
Christian Bale should be Kneecap.
Christian Bale should be in Kneecap. Exactly. Yeah. He'd be great in Kneecap.
That's like a PSNI guy.
Yeah. Oh, he'd be so good. If they do a sequel to Kneecap, you gotta get Christian Bale in it.
Yeah.
God knows what his politics are. Christian Bale is a Tory voter. I have no idea what his personal life.
Okay.
Is there anything on here? He is married to a model. They have a daughter. He is the stepson of feminist legend Gloria Steinem. He is a vegetarian since he read Charlotte's Web. He supports Greenpeace, the WWF, the Dian Fossey Gorilla Fund. He likes monkeys. Amnesty International. He was arrested in 2008 for an alleged assault at a hotel after his mother and sister reported him to the police, and he was released on bail. Right. Okay. Yeah, I mean, seems like a guy with real aggression issues. So
2008 seems to have been when it's
almost as if David O. Russell and him would get on.
Yeah.
Because of behavioral problems. Yeah, I mean, fuck that. But like David O. Russell needs to stop working, and if that means Christian Bale goes and works on better films, so be it.
Yeah.
So who wins the movie? I mean, it kind of is Ledger by default. Christian Bale in The Dark Knight, I must say, doesn't really register.
But that's good again, because like
it's fine. He had his turn in the first movie.
Yeah. And
to a certain extent in the third movie, he gets a lot to do. I think that this film he knows that he is not the center of attention here, and that's fine.
And it's good reserved performance by him in a sense, and I appreciate that.
If you want to hear the Heath Ledger deep dive, by the way, go to the Brokeback episode. You'll get the whole deal there. Sorry, I meant to say Christian Bale's history with the Oscar nominations situation is that he was won for The Fighter, was nominated for American Hustle, was nominated for The Big Short for supporting actor, and was nominated for Vice. Aaron Eckhart, 0 Oscar nominations.
Yeah.
Heath Ledger, 1 nomination, 1 win.
I like that this probably took a pretty big gamble in not going for a traditional gangster Joker type setup, and it paid off. And I'll always respect trying new things and not just pandering, I suppose.
I think so.
This film like would be fine as a standalone film without Batman Begins. You can kind of disregard
Batman Begins is really not that amazing. It's okay. I think the reason this was such a success is because loads and loads of people went to see this who hadn't seen Batman Begins and were no.
It's good. It wasn't a cash-in sequel. No. Was Nolan on a contract to do a few of these?
No, I don't think so. I think that it was a real case of let's see if one is good and the next isn't. I think what happened was they said
got a bit of free reign for the second one.
He got free reign for this. He obviously wanted to do a Heath inspired thing. I think he was forced to make The Dark Knight Rises to get Inception financed.
Yeah.
And I think there was a lot of humming and hawing about making that, and him being very like, do I have to do another one? And then he like managed to like squeeze an idea for one out.
Yeah.
And I think that kind of comes across, but that movie is great in spite of that. And then I think post Inception, that's when he's allowed to do literally whatever he wants forever.
Yeah.
And now he's over at Universal doing whatever he wants forever,
making Oscar Best Picture winners.
And making Best Picture winners. And you know what? I hate to be basic, but I think he's a phenomenal filmmaker.
Absolutely.
And we're excited every time he makes something. I think Tenet is his only bad movie. Like, and he's made 10 or 11.
Yeah.
My personal top 5: Inception, Oppenheimer, Dark Knight Rises, Dunkirk, Interstellar. I think that's my top 5.
Yeah.
And then this. And then the rest.
I don't know if I can give a ranking. I kind of...
Do you have a favorite? You have a number 1?
I guess maybe Inception.
Yeah.
I need to see Oppenheimer again. I feel like that could push it.
I think Oppenheimer and Dunkirk are both like valid answers for his best film. Like they're both incredible.
Yeah. Like I was like fairly taken away by Interstellar when I watched it first.
Yeah. Have you seen it a second time?
I've seen it like 3 times.
All right. It's out in cinemas in a few weeks.
Yeah. I'd nearly go and see it again.
I will go see it again, but I've cooled on Interstellar a lot over the years because
I mean it doesn't have the depth to kind of gain stuff on rewatching.
It doesn't.
I guess
after they go to space, it starts to drag
because there are only 5-6 characters in it. It doesn't have the whole,
and it's also it becomes frustrating at a certain point that Anne Hathaway is so bad in it, and Matt Damon is so much better than her, and you're like, what's going on here? Why is the guy who's like a secret cameo giving a better performance than the second lead? Anyway,
I just want to point out,
yeah.
My rewatch of this has given me an appreciation of Maggie Gyllenhaal in this.
Yeah, I heard someone say she was bad in this. I think she's very good. I think she's really good in this.
I think she is a good burst of like joyful energy that kind of is needed.
I haven't seen a few of her like biggest roles. Like she's in like Secretary and this kind of stuff. But I think she's like a great like traditional co-worker actress.
Yeah.
Like she's playing like a real good adult woman character who's pretty three-dimensional that you feel like, oh, this is like an actual girlfriend of a 40-year-old man. She's not like she's age appropriate.
Yeah.
She feels like a real person. It's not like a silly, flirty, flitty character. Like she's actually
not just smitten by the superhero element of it. Like,
I think she works as a girlfriend for Christian Bale and Aaron Eckhart.
Did you ever see the clip of like the ESPN show of like it's either Skip Bayless or Stephen A. Smith?
No.
And like they're discussing sports things and whatever, it turns into a tangent and it goes into like Maggie Gyllenhaal.
Right.
Didn't like her in The Dark Knight.
Oh no.
And it's done as like a sports segment. Like the conversation just got derailed. So
that's mean.
It is.
She's good in this.
She is good in this. I liked her in this.
Do you have the box office handy to quiz me?
No, of course not.
Okay. Let's pause and come back after the break. Time for the box office game.
I've been radicalized.
Yeah. This movie came out July 18th, 2008. A great weekend. Made $158 million opening weekend, which was the highest ridiculous. Of all time. And this was the highest grossing film of the 2000s for like a year and a half until Avatar came out. This was like the biggest movie of the 21st century.
Hot damn.
Yeah.
Number two
is one of my favorite films ever. It's Mamma Mia.
Indeed.
This was the original Barbenheimer. The Dark Knight and Mamma Mia
Very
came out
much
the same
so.
weekend.
Yeah.
And as a child who was scared of the Joker, I only went to see one. I went to see Mamma Mia. And my parents went to see The Dark Knight.
Yeah.
What a weird time. Now, it would be the reverse. It actually wouldn't be. My parents would be way more likely to watch a new Batman movie than a new Mamma Mia movie. I have proof of that.
We should investigate and study the outcomes of children who were taken to see Mamma Mia versus children who were taken to see Batman.
Yeah, I fucking know kids who went to see The Dark Knight and they were all weirdos. Like, they were all scary. I think Mamma Mia is a better film than The Dark Knight. I love Mamma Mia.
Okay.
Anyway, that was a great... God, going to see Mamma Mia that day was such a hoot. What a great weekend.
There's a lot of good stuff out this weekend.
Yeah, it was a great summer, yeah.
Do you know what's number 3?
Nope. A clue will help, though.
A tight 4-star, 92-minute good film. You have a very long review for this. I need to like pick out some...
Okay. You've seen it, yeah?
Yeah.
Is it Step Brothers?
Nope.
Okay. You give me a quote from my own review there.
Nothing warms me to a movie, particularly ones with relatively unimaginative action set pieces, than brevity.
All right. So the main deal with it is that it's short. I don't know. I need another clue. Summer 2008.
Yeah.
Summer 2000...
Big star.
The Happening?
No.
Big star. Mr. Cruz.
Nope.
Hancock. Yes. Written by Vince Gilligan. That is a very good film.
Peter Berg's Hancock showed up and reinvented the superhero movie.
Yeah.
The problem is, 2 weeks later, The Dark Knight reinvented it again.
I wrote that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did. Exactly. I was on the ball there.
On the ball.
It did. Hancock fucking rules.
It does.
And Hancock, the only reason Hancock was not hugely influential on comic book movies for the next 10 years was that this came out 2 weeks later. And the same can be said of Hellboy 2, which came out that summer as well, and everyone forgot about it straight away because of The Dark Knight.
Mm-hmm.
I think Hancock would have had a better impact than The Dark Knight if people had paid attention.
Your opinion when you watched this in 2018 was, this is probably the best movie Will Smith has ever made. Do you stand by that?
Ooh, it's one of the top 3.
Yeah.
Obviously, next week we'll be talking about Suicide Squad.
Okay.
I'm joking. I would say the best movies Will Smith has made are 6 Degrees of Separation, Hancock, and Men in Black 3.
Yeah.
Those are weird choices, but those are my choices. I don't like Will Smith very much, so you're getting a lot out of me to admit that Hancock is good. A film where the poster is just Will Smith's face super, super close up.
It's quite funny because it doesn't tell you anything about the...
Just that he's got cool sunglasses.
Just got a guy.
And you can see the city in the sunglasses. And every city, they change the city in the sunglasses. It's like I was in Berlin, and it was Berlin reflected in his sunglasses.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway.
Next up, another big star.
Okay. A bit more than that. Comedy star?
Yeah. Oh, wait. I confused it. Big star also, but like big in a different sense.
So it's a big man.
He's known for playing big. More recently than that.
I need more.
Seth Meyers is fourth build in this for some reason.
Seth Meyers is fourth build in this. Is it comedy?
Yeah, kind of.
I don't know.
This is something your parents might have taken you to see.
Oh, is Brendan Fraser in this?
Yeah.
Journey to the Center of the Earth.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's an okay film. I actually didn't see that in the cinema, but I did buy the DVD.
Okay.
Yeah, Seth Meyers is
Sorry, I thought this was the Race to Witch Mountain. For
No, I think Seth Meyers is like
he plays a professor.
I think he's the ex-wife's shitty new boyfriend, maybe.
Could be, yeah.
That movie is okay. It's not very good. There's a sequel to it with The Rock, Journey to the Mysterious Island, where Josh Hutcherson comes back, but Brendan Fraser was no longer a star. Brendan Fraser has 3 movies out in 2008. That, The Mummy 3, and Inkheart, and they all do pretty poorly, and then he basically is never a star ever again until he wins his Oscar. Anyway, there you go.
Next up is the aforementioned Hellboy 2, The Golden Army.
An incredible film. Way better than The Dark Knight. Like one of the 5 best superhero movies ever made. Yeah, absolutely brilliant.
Next up are 2 space films.
So we got Space Chimps.
Yep.
Which I love.
Well, that's the second.
Space Chimps, great movie, which I love. Space Chimps 2, Zartok Strikes Back. Generally the answer I'll give for the worst film I've ever seen.
Biggest drop off between sequels ever.
Yeah, I think so. Suicide Squad is the inverse of that.
Yeah.
Space Chimps 2, Zartok Strikes Back. If someone is like, what's the worst film you've ever seen? And I have like 1 second to think, I'll always say Space Chimps 2, Zartok Strikes Back.
Yeah.
I spent the whole movie sneezing because of how bad it was. I went out to the toilet just to sneeze. It was so shit.
You're allergic to the chimps.
I was allergic to Space Chimps 2, Zartok Strikes Back.
Yeah.
The poster is just a chimp with a rocket up his butt, making a face, going like, ow. Anyway. And the other one is another space movie.
Yeah. The space movie of the year.
The space movie of the year. What? The space movie of the year. Is it for kids?
Yeah. You've mentioned already.
I've mentioned it already. And it's 2008.
Yeah.
And it's about space.
It's in its 5th week here.
So it came out in June.
Yeah.
What?
It's WALL-E.
Oh, WALL-E, of course.
WALL-E, yeah.
Well, one of the greatest films ever made. Yeah. Best film of 2008, for sure.
And I'm just going to rattle off the rest. We got Wanted.
Never seen.
Another Morgan Freeman.
That'd be a real desperate boy party if we needed to do Jolie and McAvoy.
Yeah.
Yeah. No interest.
Kung Fu Panda.
And rubbish, yeah.
Get Smart.
Pretty good, yeah.
Meet Dave.
Not great.
Then we've got an Indiana Jones.
Yeah, not great.
Incredible Hulk, Iron Man, Sex and the City.
Yeah, they're all fucking left over from May.
You don't mess with Zohan. It's down there at number 80.
Yeah. But, worth acknowledging that Iron Man also comes out this summer, and these 2 movies both change.
You know, I think everything...
American cinema forever.
I think everything in the top 10 I would go to see in cinema. Like
even Meet Dave?
Not Bar Meet Dave. And maybe not Journey to the Center of the Earth.
Yeah.
But I mean, if that was the current slate of stuff coming out now, you'd be in the
You'd be going to the cinema all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, 2008 was a good time. And that's our Dark Knight episode, folks.
Mm-hmm.
Hope we didn't miss anything important.
Not
really.
Anyone else in this that we're forgetting about?
Not really. Michael Caine, Gary Oldman, and Michael Caine, Gary Oldman, and Morgan Freeman are all just kind of on autopilot in these movies. They're just like, they're there and they're good. They're not really doing
a steady
anything.
presence, and that's all you need.
That's all there is.
There's the guy with the phone in his belly. He's cool.
Oh, my insides hurt.
Oh, it's hurt.
I like that guy. It's funny. Joker month continues next week, folks.
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna get so fucking twisted.
Oh, we're
gonna be getting rats in the post. It's 2016's Suicide Squad. Can't wait to make Shane watch Suicide Squad again.
Yeah.
We'll be back then. So please visit boypartypod.com. Follow Boy Party Pod on social media. Thank you all for listening, and